Hey, welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm Wood. In this video, we're taking on Amius, the Lunar Archon, in hard difficulty. You can see from the stats above me, this is from hellhades.com. It's really great that we have hellhades.com. We can look at all the stats of all the bosses, whatever we're fighting. We can actually look and see how much stats we're going to need to overcome that content. And so Amius has 450 resistance, which means you're going to need about 475 accuracy to reliably overcome his resistance. That doesn't negate the 3% resist that can happen on a lot of skills. But just so we know, he has 250 speed, so you're going to want to be around that or a little bit higher if you want to take turns before he takes his first turn. It's not necessary to. I've seen a lot of teams beat him in the 240s range, but you want to make sure that you're speed tuned at that speed. Some other things that we're going to need for this fight, and I'll go through the builds that I have and the skills that I have and just kind of show you how I'm doing it. But these are some things that can be useful for the boss. There's a lot that you kind of need to stack on there. It's decrease attack. I think that's like the most important one. He hits really hard. Obviously, he's got an attack of 20,000. It's ridiculous. Yeah, he's got 20,000 attack. He's got over 4 million health and 11,000 defense. So it's a tough fight. The decreased attack helps a lot. You want to be able to cut that attack down with the decreased attack. You want to have either Veil with a champion that puts Veil on all of your team except for them to draw that single target hit that he does, or you're going to have a champ on the team who takes the single target hit consistently. And there's a couple ways to do that. You can use Guardian sets on some of your other champions to try and mitigate some of the damage on that one target to try and help them to survive. It's nice to bring a reviver in, but I've found that the revive can sort of throw off your skill rotation. So that can kind of hurt you sometimes too if you need to revive. So you want to build your champs that they can survive that single target hit, and you want to know where it's going and sort of kind of control that. Another thing you need is heal reduction. If you're doing damage based on brimstone or HP burn, it just takes too long if you don't have the heal reduction. So the heal reduction is really nice to have. If you're doing one of the, sort of a conventional damage strategy where you're just nuking down the boss, really quickly, or you've got some mythical champions that hit super hard or whatever, those kind of things, those strategies, that's not what I'm doing. So I'm not going to be able to advise you on how to do that. But if you're using brimstone or you're using HP burn, it's just really nice to have the heal reduction. And there's a few champions on every rotation. I've found somebody that can do the heal reduction. So it's a really important one to have. There are a couple of rares that have the heal reduction that you can use. It's just you have to build them up with really good stats to get them to survive. But it can be done. I've seen it done. I've done it myself. So then you're gonna also want to have a buff strip. We're using this decrease attack strategy. A buff strip can be extremely useful as well. And then one of the most important things on this boss, you don't want to have any cooldown reducing skills, masteries, or artifact sets. That's a really important part. And I mean, you can get away with it sometimes because they don't proc very often, especially the masteries. If it does, it ruins the whole run, and there's no worse thing than getting through, playing this over 20 minutes or a half hour or something like that, and then having one of those proc and it just destroys the whole run. And then you just have to start over. If you can avoid using champions that you have with those masteries, that's ideal. I don't like to change masteries just for this one fight a month, but if it's important to you and it's a permanent change, so that you're going to be using this champion over and over again in this fight every month, then it probably makes sense to do that. I have changed masteries on a couple of champions that I used for this fight. I don't like to do it, but I have done it. But it is so that I can reuse them when the rotation comes around again. And then hopefully you don't have to use that champion in other content where you need that where you need that mastery or that gear set or whatever. You're also going to want a team cleanse. That's a really nice skill to have also in this fight, because the boss can, if you have any continuous heals put on you, for example, he can turn those into a heal reduction, and then you want to be able to cleanse those off so you can keep your healing going. I'll show you the champions that I used for this rotation of Amius. I'll show you all of their builds, all of their masteries, their skills. I don't have everything completely booked. In fact, when I beat this the first time this month, my Manaya, I was using her for her heal reduction and her block debuffs, but then I didn't realize that I didn't have one of her skills booked, and it would have made it a lot easier. It caused me a lot of problems not to have that skill booked, and I didn't even realize that it wasn't booked. So during CVC, I booked the skill, and so now it works better. And so I'll go through and I'll show you the builds. I'll show you the champions. I usually use 3 epics, and then we'll go into the fight, and I'll show you the skill rotation and where you need to use all the skills and what to watch for and how to know what skills to use and when. Alright, so we're going to go into Amius here. So as you can see, we can use Shadowkin, Bannerlords, Knights Revenant, Ogre Tribes, and Barbarians on this rotation. And the last time this rotation came up, I actually used Scylla the Drakes in this spot instead of Rector Drath. And it worked fine then, but when I tried it this month, for some reason it didn't. So I don't think I changed anything of their builds or anything. It may have just been an unlucky, procs or something like that. As I was going through, and I didn't want to really examine anything, so I just tried Rector Drath, plugged her in, and it worked beautifully the first time. Then I tried it a couple more times, and I had some trouble. But then, like I said, I finished booking out Manaya, and that helped quite a bit. I'll just take you through, and I'll show you the builds of the champions really quickly first. We've got Lady Kimmy in a protection set. The protection set is good because then he can't use some of those debuffs against you. But I'll change this to Cursed City here. I do have some extra stats on the Cursed City. Not too much, but a little bit. So you can see here, she's got 317 speed. That's not necessary. That's a lot more speed than you need in this fight. It's just the way I have her built. And like I always say this, I don't like changing builds just for this one fight a month. So I just try and slog through it as best I can. But yeah, she's got 88,000 health, 3,200 defense. I'm not using her for damage at all, other than she has a 5-star Brimstone Blessing. That's really the main reason she's in here. She also has a buff strip. And so she can, I think it's just one random buff. Yeah, one random buff from each enemy, and then 75% chance of placing block buffs. The block buffs can be a bad thing if we use it at the wrong time. So you have to use these skills at the right time, but it's not a problem if we're using it where we're going to use it. We're planning on the boss only having one buff to remove, and that's why she's sufficient in that role. Oh, and then her accuracy, Lady Kimmy's accuracy is a little low. Like I said before, we want to have 475 accuracy. That's really the ideal, the goal. That'll get you pretty reliable use of your skills. 433 isn't enough, but it's what I had on the build, and it's what I'm using, and it works. It's just every once in a while you fail. You every once in a while you have a resist, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying I don't like to change my builds just for one fight a month. if I've mentioned that before. Doom Priest we're just using for the cleanse mostly. We also use her increased attack at a very specific time. So on Doom Priest, she's at 272 speed with the Cursed City bonuses, and 73,000 HP. I would like to have Doom Priest's HP a little bit higher than this 73. Her passive heals every time she takes a turn. And it heals the whole team, but it's based on their max HP. But it would give her a bigger heal if she had more HP, and that's a really good thing to have sometimes, because we want the boss to target a certain champion each time he uses his single target hit. And so I would like to have more HP on her, and everywhere I do use her, it would be nice to have more HP. So that's something I could fix later. But everything else is kind of inconsequential on her. I do have her booked. Yeah, she's booked. Lady Kimmy, I believe, is completely booked as well. No, she doesn't have a one book. It's debuff's chance on her A1, but that's not a big deal for this fight. I'm using Maneater. Maneater is in mostly for his decrease attack on his A1. It's very consistent and very reliable if he has enough accuracy, which in this fight he does not. But we're working on it. And it usually works. He's at 445 accuracy. It typically it'll land. It's only a one turn, so I do have the Master Hexer mastery on him to try and increase it to 2 turns every once in a while. We get lucky most of the time, and that works. He's only at 245 speed. And I had him speed tuned for another fight, and so I haven't changed that build either. But his 245 speed is sufficient because we're using a speed lead. We're using Manaya's speed lead. 3,400 defense, 70,000 HP. He's going to be our lowest HP on the team, and he's going to be our target for the single target hit. Rector Drath is at, I always forget to do these area bonuses. 239 speed for Rector Drath. Again, that'll be enough with the aura. You know, you'll notice she will take a turn before the boss does. But she's at 78,000 speed, 3,000 defense. I don't know why she's. I mean, the attack is, you know, fine, but she doesn't do any damage. We're not worried about resistance or accuracy on Rector Drath either, or any kind of damage. Mostly she's just there for her heals and as a backup sort of reviver. This decrease attack on her A1, it's a 50-50 chance, and I like this skill. I've never built her with accuracy, and so if you did build her with enough accuracy though, I mean that would replace the need for Maneater, and you might be able to bring somebody else in the team if you're using a similar type team. It's just what I had available to me, and my Maneater has War Master too, so that kind of helps a little bit to shorten the fight slightly. I do have her with the emergency heal blessing, but it's only at 2 stars. And you can see her masteries here. Have I even shown any? I haven't even shown any mastery. I'll go back and I'll show you all the masteries. Here are Rector Drath's masteries, kind of standard for support that you're not having to do any damage. This isn't what you would build for clan boss or anything. I think a long time ago when I first got her, I think I was using her in arena or something, which at the time was pretty effective. And I haven't used her very much anywhere for a long time, but she works out in this fight. She's in regen and immortal. She does have the blood shield accessory so that emergency heal blessing will work, and she's fully booked. Did I miss anything? Let me go back and show you Lady Kimmy's masteries. She also has War Master, Life Drinker, Bring It Down, and then Master Hexer and Sniper, just in case. But yeah, the Sniper's not really helping us. The skill where she removes the buff is 100%, so we're not really worried about Sniper or Master Hexer on her, really. I don't think you can increase the duration of the smite debuff, which is something I've never really checked into. I don't think it does. I don't think it does. But the protection set on her is really good. And then Doom Priest's masteries. No damage masteries here on Doom Priest. Mostly just the support for the healing. She has rapid response, which is fine. You don't want Cycle of Magic. Cycle of Magic can ruin your whole day when you're in this fight. So anything that reduces cooldowns you don't want. The Cycle of Magic will. It's only a 5% chance, but you take quite a few turns when you use this type of strategy, and so it can be a problem. And then I've even got her with Unshakable, and she doesn't even have that much resistance. So you can see I haven't really looked at any of these masteries for a long time. Not a big deal, but yeah, you can see here are Maneater's masteries. You can see I went with, it's kind of a typical clan boss setup for him here, but you definitely want the Master Hexer if you're using Maneater for your decrease attack. It's a great skill that he has, but it's only 1 turn. It doesn't even say it. I've never noticed that before. It doesn't even say that it's just 1 turn, but it is. It's only a 1 turn. But with the Master Hexer, a lot of times it's get 2 turns. I have him with Cruelty also. That doesn't really help because we're not really using conventional damage, but he does have the War Master, so that is kind of helpful. I probably won't ever use either of his other 2 skills here. It'll just usually be his A1. Sometimes in an emergency, I'll use his block debuffs, but that's only if the decrease attack is already on. I'll explain that later. But yeah, the Siphon doesn't even work because you can't reduce the turn meter of the boss anyway, so I don't even pay attention to that. But you can see he's Perception, Speed, and Immortal. So the Immortal helps a little bit, but not enough. That's not enough to keep him alive. Well, that's why we need Doom Priest and Rector Drath. Rector Drath, that I did show her masteries. And then Manaya. Manaya's in Immortal and Regen also. You want to keep the levels of all your other champions really topped up as much as you can, because you don't want him to start switching. You don't want Amius to start switching, who the target is for the single target attack. You want to keep it consistently on the same champion all the time so that your skill rotation doesn't change. Manaya's stats here. She has 258 speed, 72,000 HP. So you can see she could be a little higher HP. I don't even have her finished built yet. 3,300 defense, 258 speed, 459. So she's getting a little closer to the accuracy that we need, but still not quite there. So none of the champions I'm using for skills that need accuracy have enough accuracy. But you'll see it does work, and I haven't recorded it yet. I'm still going to record it. And then her masteries, I had to go with Eagle Eye, and I went with Master Hexer just in case we can get an extra turn on that heal reduction. I went with the accuracy just because needed it, obviously. And the Shadow Heal is kind of cool, although we don't want the boss doing any healing, but he will do a little bit of healing at the end in his base form. This boss does do a little bit of healing on himself outside of just his A2 in his base form. He continues to heal based on how much heal that his enemies are getting, and which is us. So, but the Shadow Heal, it doesn't really help that much in this fight. I went with it just because she's somebody that needs to survive, and I want to keep her topped up. The other thing, she does put some buffs on the other champions, and so I've got the solidarity. But like I said, we don't have enough resistance to really matter here. All right, that all said, I hope that's helpful. All right, so we'll go into the fight here. I'm gonna take it off of start on auto. We don't want that, and I'll just show you the skill rotation. You know how everything works. The first round here, our goal is to get decrease attack on the boss before he takes a turn, before he takes his first turn, because that's going to force him to use his A3, not his A2. And hopefully, if we're lucky, we'll get the Brimstone proc from Lady Kimmy here. There we go. Good. That worked beautifully. We got it. We're just going to A1 with Doom Priest. We don't want to put any buffs up. As few buffs as we can on this first turn. We do put up some buffs. And then we're going to A1 with Manaya. And see, she puts a continuous heal up every time she takes that A1 turn. Now, we really need the decreased attack here. And we missed it. We got resisted. Okay, so that does happen. It can. But maybe so we're hoping so he did the A3 because he had the Brimstone on him. Now, we're still going to use A1 with Doom Priest. Now we're going to put the heal reduction on. So all that damage that we just did with the Brimstone proc, with the Smite debuff, so that all that damage that we did doesn't just get erased by him healing himself with his A2 is a big heal. So we want to stop him from doing that. So we're going to do the heal reduction. Okay. Now we're going to try and go for decreased attack again. There we go. We got it that time. You can see every once in a while I do get a resist. It can be a 3%, but on my team, because I don't have sufficient accuracy, I'm just going to always assume that it's because I don't have enough accuracy. But you can see you can get through it even if your stats aren't perfect. And we're going to try and get... I don't think the debuff, the Smite debuff gets erased ever. All right, so now we're gonna watch this passive up here. I want to show the skills, these skills over here. I want to show so that you can see what I'm clicking and what the kind of skill order is that I use. Doom Priest is gonna A1 again. We want to watch this passive though. Do you see this red passive up here? When that turns to 1, okay, we want to make sure to put increase attack on our team, or shield, or increase crit rate, or increase crit damage, something like that the boss can, it sort of tempts the boss to change something of ours into something negative, but it's not going to hurt us. Does that make sense? So, but a shield is perfect because there's no opposite to a shield, so he doesn't remove the shield or switch it or anything. All right, we're just going to A1 with Manaya again. I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but I want to explain everything well enough. Oh man, we got resisted again on the A1. That's more resists than I have seen. You know, like 2 out of 3 is pretty bad. That usually doesn't happen. But that hit, luckily, isn't usually a big hit. We just don't want to lose too much HP before he changes into his mythical form, because then we get hit really hard, and that can set us up for disaster. So this red passive now is at 1, okay? And so now I'm going to have Doom Priest put an increase attack on everybody. And if you have enough buffs on your team, when he changes form, he kind of uses his skills in a more predictable fashion. So he's going to use his skill order in the way we want him to use it. And having decrease attack on us doesn't hurt us. So it's actually a nice kind of bait for him. All right, now Lady Kimmy's going to use her A1. Mostly she's going to use her A1. And we just keep hoping for Brimstone, but we don't always get it. Now this is the most important time to have the decrease attack on, and we also hope for the Master Hexer proc. Okay, so we didn't get Master Hexer there. It's just a 1 turn that he placed, but at least we got the decrease attack for 1 turn. All right, so just an A1 with Doom Priest. We don't want to put buffs on our champions here. The shields are okay. The shields, do you see the shields stay? And then Doom Priest removes a random debuff from the whole team every time she takes a turn. And I do have her in Relentless. No, I didn't say that, but I do. I have her in Relentless. You saw her stats, and I'm sure for a split second you saw her build, but yeah, she's in Relentless set. Now Manaya's just going to A1 here, but we're going to use one of her skills that is really important here before he changes back to his base form. Okay, we want decrease attack again. That's really important now. Rector Drath is going to put up her Veil or her continuous heals. It chooses which buff to put on your team based on how much health they have left. Okay, and then Doom Priest is going to remove another debuff from us, which is good. And then Lady Kimmy's going to take another turn here. Just another A1. And Manaya, she's going to use her A1 one more time before he changes. He's still not ready to do his base form turn. What he's going to do next is his single target hit. And I'm kind of nervous that Manaya's going to take that hit, although I think she can handle it. No, we still had Maneater. Okay, you can see how low his health got on that. And that was with decreased attack. So that's a scary one. I think the boss critted both times on that hit, on those hits. So he's got pretty high crit rate. What's his crit rate? Yeah, it's 50%. So he can get 2 crits on that. There are a lot of times when he crits both times because he's a 50-50 chance of getting a crit. And I have found that my Maneater can survive that. If I could change Maneater's Blessing, I would put Emergency Heal on him and put a Blood Shield accessory on him. That would just help survive a little. The other thing you can do, and I haven't done this on any of my champions, but maybe put Rector Drath in a Guardian set. If you can get her tanky enough in a Guardian set, or even Doom Priest in a Guardian set. I like her in Relentless better though, but putting someone, maybe Manaya, somebody in a, I'm just thinking about my team here, but putting one of your champions in a Guardian set can help that single target hit, whoever is your single target. Whoever you're using to take that single target hit can be helped by somebody with Guardian gear, and it'll help them survive a little bit longer. I think he even ignores defense on that. Let me look. Okay, yeah, so we'll ignore 100% of the target's defense. Damage increases by 20% for each debuff on the enemy. So if you have debuffs, if you still have debuffs on you when this happens, it really, it's a lot more damage. And then it decreases his ignore defense effect for each awakening level on the target champion. 5% for levels 1 to 2, 10% for levels 3 to 6, stacks up to 50%. So that can be a pretty significant reduction if you've got blessings. And my Maneater I think is only 2-star on that. So that's not helping that much, but it helps a little bit. So far in all of the runs I've done on this and testing it and trying to prepare for the video and everything, he has been surviving. He has gone down a couple of times. But I think we've got it to a point now where everything is okay. If he's got too many debuffs on him still, if Doom Priest hasn't removed all of them, then a lot of times then he will go down. But most of the time he survives that hit. Okay, we're gonna go for decreased attack again, and A1 from Doom Priest because that's all she has. A1 from Lady Kimmy. And then now, see, he's ready to go back to his base form. But what he does when he goes back to his base form, he's going to put a stun on everybody on the team. We don't want that stun because we want to use our next turn after he changes, because we're going to force him, because he has decreased attack on him and Brimstone. he's gonna feel compelled. We're gonna coax him into using his A3, so that he's not gonna do his big heal on his A2. That'll give us a chance to put the heal reduction, but we won't have that chance if we're stunned and we can't take our turn. So now Manaya is gonna put her block debuffs on and heal some of the team, and also with a shield. The shield only goes on if she heals everybody to full, and you can see she didn't heal Maneater to full, so we don't get that shield on him. So he's gonna change form. We didn't get any stun, so that's good. So now he's back in his base form. Don't watch the moon. The moon is only in his base, the moon is only clear on his base form, not red, at the beginning of the fight. After that, this moon stays red back here for the rest of the fight. The reason he's back in his base form is because the skills up here change to colors and not just all red skills. I hope that helps. But you can see he changed that increase attack or decrease attack into an increase attack, and he extended its duration by 2 turns. So it's a 3-turn increase attack. We don't want that. Okay, so Maneater's going to go again. He's going to put the decrease attack on. Now Lady Kimmy's going to try and strip that off of him. Okay, and then she put the block debuffs on as well. That's not going to hurt us now, but we definitely don't want to do that while he's in his other form. Then he would use it as a block debuffs. We have block buffs on now. I said it. No, did I say? I said it wrong. Okay. Lady Kimmy put the block buffs on him. If you do that when he's in his other form, when he's in his mythical form, and he changes those on this A3, he's gonna put block debuffs on, and then you can't get the heal reduction on him. All right, so we're just gonna A1 with Doom Priest. Now I know this looks like a lot of buffs on our team right now. We're gonna try and outrun all of those before he changes back to his mythical form. But the main thing now is to get the heal reduction on him before he takes his A2. Good. Manaya also has Brimstone, but she's only, I think, at one or 2 star, and so that's not very helpful. It doesn't land very often. Hopefully we'll get. No, we didn't get it from Lady Kimmy there either. Okay, and that hit usually can hit pretty hard, especially if the increased attack stays on him. All right, we're just going to A1 again with Doom Priest, A1 again with Manaya, and that put a continuous heal on Maneater. We want to get him healed back up. The problem with these continuous heals, though, is they turn into heal reductions when he changes. Okay, we're just going to A1 with Lady Kimmy again. There's the Brimstone, good. And then just an A1 from Rector Drath. That shield is a good thing. It's not a problem. The Blood Shield, I actually recommend Blood Shield on all your champions if you're using them in Amius, and then that emergency heal blessing can be really useful if you're not using Brimstone on that champion. And then decrease attack, good. Okay, so now you see this passive just changed to 1 again. All right, so that's when we put a buff on all the team. I just find it's more consistent. If you're doing the same thing. The buff isn't always absolutely necessary, but then you're giving the boss a chance to decide what he wants to do in his turn order, or in his skill order when he changes forms. And I like forcing him to do what I want him to do, and having a buff helps. So either increase attack, shield, increase crit rate, increase crit damage. All of those are useful there. Okay, so then A1 from Lady Kimmy again, A1 from Manaya. It's going to put another continuous heal on Maneater. So you can see he's got 2 of those. It only changes to 1. It only changes to 1 heal reduction when the boss flips those against you. But we used 1 of them. Now he's going to change form, and you see we've got that heal reduction on Maneater. We don't want that to stay. And Doom Priest got an extra turn there, but she removed the wrong debuff. And that can be kind of the problem. He's full health, but that heal reduction is on for I think 3 turns there, if I see that correctly. Yeah, he extends the boss extends the duration of all the debuffs. After he changes your buffs to debuffs, he extends the duration of them as well. So that can be a big problem too. But when Doom Priest gets another turn, that'll get washed away. And we're just going to A1 still again. We're not ready to put up the block debuffs yet or any of that. In fact, I'm not gonna heal yet. I was gonna put veils and heals on, but I'm not gonna do that yet because he hasn't used this skill. Okay, we want to wait for him to use this A2 skill. Okay, so then he uses that hit, and that one, yeah, he decreases turn meters. He increases the duration of all debuffs and decreases the duration of all buffs on all enemies by 1 turn on that A2. And so that's why you don't want to have a bunch of buffs. You don't want to put a bunch of buffs on you until he uses that skill, because he's just going to reduce their duration anyway. And he's going to increase your debuffs, and that's why Doom Priest is so good to have on here. She doesn't care how long the duration of the debuff is, she just removes it. So and then she decreases turn meter for every debuff that has it. So he does a bunch of turn meter reduction here as well. If you're fast enough and everything, that's usually not too big of a problem. But if you've got a lot of buffs on you, that can be pretty significant. Oh, and it's an enemy max HP hit. Okay, well, that makes sense as to why a lot of it did quite a bit of damage. All right, so we want the decreased attack on again. Oh, and then it went on for 2 turns. So we got the Master Hexer proc on that. That's really good. All right, so we're going to A1 with Doom Priest again. Now we're going to A1 with Lady Kimmy to try and get Brimstone on. We're not ready for Manaya's Beauty's Allure yet. That's the one that does the block debuffs. We want to wait until after he does his single target hit, okay? It's really important that you wait until after he does the single target hit to do that, because some of the champions might outrun the buff, and then when he changes form, they might not have the block debuffs on them, and they'll take the stun and miss their next turn. We don't want that. That'll mess up our whole turn order. But I am going to heal and put veils on. I'll do veils and heals with Rector Drath here. Okay, so Maneater took those hits. The second one was not a crit on that one, so he survived just fine. A1 with Doom Priest here. So now we're getting ready for him to change form. Okay, so we definitely want the decrease attack. Hey, that's good. That changed to 2 turns. Okay, so we got the Master Hexer twice in a row. So he's got it for 2 turns on the decrease attack. That's what we want. Lady Kimmy for Brimstone here. And then now we're going to put up heals and shields and block debuffs from Manaya. Okay. All right. Rector Drath for another A1 before he takes his turn. Now he's going to change form. He's going to try and stun everybody, but he doesn't. But he changed the decrease attack into an increase attack. So now you remember what we do next time is we remove that. And that's just how it goes. It just keeps going over and over and over again that way, in that order. And so I'm just going to run through the rest of the fight. Hopefully nothing interesting will happen, and it'll just be boring like it has been so far. And I'll just keep running the skills in that same order over and over again. And so what happens at the end, if he's in his mythical form and dies, he heals by 30%, changes back to his base form. It throws everything out of whack. But usually you can get things back on track and still kill him. It just takes longer. But luckily, like I said before, we only have to do this fight once a month. So I'm just gonna keep this going, and I'll put it in fast forward mode, and I'll stop if something interesting happens. Hopefully not. Okay, so that's an interesting thing. I forgot to use Manaya's A2. I just forgot. I just missed it. I'm sorry. That's all. That's on me. That's my bad. I just missed it. And so he got a big heal off of that. Not good. All right. I'm going to keep the fight going though, and I'm going to keep going. So Maneater died on that hit. I'm actually kind of glad it happened, because I can show you that it's not the end of the world, and we can recover from this, or at least in theory. I think we can recover from this. I'm just gonna run through things as I have been. I'm gonna put the block debuffs on and everything, even though Maneater isn't revived yet. Change form. I'm gonna get that. And so we're still going to want to put the heal reduction on. And so luckily he used his A3, and that was because we had the smite debuff on. If we hadn't had that smite debuff on, he probably would have used his A2. Okay, so that was basically just luck, you know, that we got the smite debuff on there, and that forced him to use his A2 or his A3 first. If he used his A2, he would have gotten that big heal again. It would have been a problem. So now, if I will remember to use Manaya's A2, I will. Okay, so now he's going to use his A2, try and heal, but he's going to fail. Now we're going to try and revive Maneater again. We really need him up before the next to last turn. Luckily, you know, it doesn't hurt him on his skill rotation, because he's only using his A1. Okay, now we definitely need the decreased attack. Good. Okay, we got that. He's going to change to his mythical form again, so we want that. We want the buffs on us. We don't want too many buffs, but we do want those buffs. The problem is we got this veil, but there's nothing there's nothing the boss can do with a veil. There's no opposite to a veil either. So that's not really going to hurt us either. Okay, so he's going to change form again. See, the veil stayed. We're just fine there. Now we want A1 with Lady Kimmy again. Good, we got some brimstone. Some more damage. You can damage him in this form all you want. It's just don't try not to kill him in this form. But it's hard to control that. All right, we're gonna get. So Maneater's probably going to go down here again. This is the problem. We haven't had enough healing yet. At least we got the decreased attack on. The only thing we can hope for is that the boss isn't going to crit twice or crit at all on him when he goes after Maneater here. Nope, he's dead again. All right, well, that didn't work. And he changes form. He went with his A2, so he got his heal. Yeah, so that's a problem. I'm gonna try and get us back on track. You can go ahead and watch me. You'll be able to see. I won't speed it up too much, but you'll be able to see which skills I use and kind of how I get us out of the mess here. But it's, you know, these kind of things can happen. I'm like I said, for the demonstration of the video, I'm kind of glad it did. It's a pain, but I'm kind of glad it did, so that I can show you that it's not the end of the world. And it's not worth starting the fight over. If something like that happens, you can probably turn it back around. Sometimes, like if he's going to heal all the way back up and your health is down low, like look at Doom Priest right here. Her health is down really low right now. If I can salvage this, I will. Okay, so it looks like we're back on track here. We had Maneater just took that single target hit again, and he survived this time. So I think we're back on track. If nothing else interesting happens, hopefully I won't have to stop and talk to you again until the end. Okay, we're getting down to the end here. I think the next brimstone is going to kill him. We are in his base form, so that should be good. And then Lady Kimmy's going to take that that increase attack away. So this should do it. There we go. Okay. So it did work. So you can see, I mean, 31 minutes, 48 seconds. You can see my best, you know, when I did it the first time, it was 11 minutes and 25 seconds. And that was pretty much an ideal run. Like, I can't remember too many things going wrong in that one. You know, and so because it was the first time, you know, I had run it that way, I thought, oh, this is easy. And then I ran it a few more times and ran into some problems like we did just now there. A couple of crits in a row, and sometimes that man-eater could go down. I think to avoid that, you'd probably want to have some guardian on the team somewhere, and you know, maybe Rector Drath. Like if I'm just looking at my team, you know, you'd have to look at your own team to decide what would be best for you. But looking at my team, I would probably want to put Rector Drath in guardian gear or something, just so that to protect that single hit target from getting killed. But yeah, you can see Man-Eater's in 3-star, but yeah, I think that emergency heal would be a good blessing on him with the blood shield accessory. Anyway, that's the skill rotation. You can see Lady Kimmy did pretty much all the damage with 5 million. Man-Eater had about 800,000 damage, and Manaya with 400,000. She did get a brimstone proc one time with the smite debuff. So that's kind of how the run goes. I showed you all the champions and their skills. I hope I didn't miss anything. I'll just run through. I wasn't very good with the sets, so let me go through. I think I mentioned that Lady Kimmy was in protection. Protection is a fast set, and Lady Kimmy's fast, so that's the reason she's in that. But you'll notice what I have Lady Kimmy in there for mostly, it's not because of all of her speed stuff that she does. It's because she has the 5-star brimstone, and she has that the buff strip. But it's only one random buff, but because of the strategy we're using, that was sufficient. If you have another legendary champion in 5-star brimstone, I would definitely bring them in and get the buff steal from somewhere else. You know, if that's the case. Doom Priest I have in Relentless and Immortal, like I think I mentioned. I hope I did. Man-Eater, I'm pretty sure I mentioned Man-Eater in Speed, Immortal, and Perception. And Rector Drath, Regen and Immortal. Same thing with Manaya, Regen and Immortal. I'll go back through Masteries just in case I missed something. There's Masteries for Manaya. There's the Masteries for Rector Drath. Masteries for Man-Eater. Masteries for Doom Priest. And the Masteries for Lady Kimmy. I hope that helps. I hope you're well. Good luck with Amius if you haven't beaten him on this rotation yet. If you find something else that works, let me know. Put it in the comments, you know. Let me know what team you're using on Amius Hard. I should have Amius Normal done pretty soon. So once I get Amius Normal done, I've noticed the rotations, they're not exactly the same every month anymore. Since we completed our first 5 months, now Hard and Normal can be different rotations. So once I get to Normal, which should be in the next couple of days, I'll be able to make a video on that one explaining how to do that fight as well, because it's exactly the same. You know, doing the fight on Normal and doing the fight on Hard, the only thing is his speed is a little bit different. He doesn't have as much health and defense and everything, and you know, all of his stats are reduced a little bit, but the skill order is what really makes the fight complicated. And so I'll go through and do a video on normal mode on this rotation again, and then hopefully we'll be set up, and hopefully that'll help you. Thank you for watching. I've been Wood, and I appreciate you.